Hey guys, so I'm going to be doing one of my most highly requested tutorials here. So it is actually just like an eye makeup tutorial, so I'm just going to get started on that here really quickly. Very first things first is usually I like to tie my hair back with either some hairnets or just a simple ponytail. I usually use 2 hairnets here just to kind of be more secure and make my head more round, but I mean really we're just trying to pull our hair back at this point. And then I also will begin to kind of trim out my eyebrows. I shave the ends of my eyebrows off and they actually grow back quite quickly. So usually any single time I have to put makeup on, I have to kind of trim them out a little bit because, like I said, they get real fuzzy really quickly again. And then usually a lot of the time is I actually have like a little brow razor. You'll see, I'll look for it in a second here, but I couldn't find it. So I'm just gonna keep shaving my brow a little bit, and I'm checking on the length of them there. I'm looking for that special razor, but nope, okay, regular razor blade it is. I'm feeling there to make sure they're nice and smooth. So very next thing here is I am going to start off by using some Covergirl. I showed my BB cream there, but I don't use the BB cream in this video. So what I actually start with here is just my foundation. You can also see that I tend to get very distracted in this video. So usually the way I just kind of apply this is I use a beauty blender. You can see it in my hand there. Oh, I'm getting distracted again. I was watching Funhouse. And I'll usually blend this out after I've done the BB cream. A lot of times I blend when I do my concealer, so I'll put foundation and concealer on at the exact same time and then I'll blend them together. But for the purposes of this video, and sometimes just in general, I'll do my foundation first and then my concealer after. The concealer I use here is just a Wet n Wild concealer. Both of all the stuff I've showed off so far, it's all from Walmart so far, I believe. I'm cheap and broke, and honestly, drugstore makeup is not half bad. You don't need expensive products to look amazing. Just remember that. Anytime anybody tells you that you need expensive products, be like, no. Grape said no. So usually I slap a bunch of concealer on my under eyes there. Like, I'm very obsessed with trying to get that very smooth, sleek under eye look. No eye bags, those look bad. And then I usually put a little bit on my actual lid itself, and then I kind of contour the brow and brow line with some concealer as well, and then I blend it all out. Brow stuff for later, just for when I'm putting on brow powder, but I put a little bit, like I said, on my lids for color because I don't have a eyeshadow primer. I'm done. This next product here is an e.l.f. They called it like an under eye powder. I went into Walmart actually to go buy some more concealer. They didn't have any, and I turned around and the e.l.f. Line is there, and I looked down and it was like, oh, under eye powder, and me, like I said, being obsessed with having that flawless underline, I grabbed it. So I'm just using my finger to apply it here. I sometimes use a brush if I'm going fast, but I like to use my finger because it sets more powder there. And I like to kind of pretend like I'm going to be baking the powder, but really I'm not. I don't leave it on for long enough. I used to do that, but I find that I don't like waiting. I'm very impatient and very distracted, so I just kind of do that, and it kind of gives a very bright under eye. And right there is where I realized that I forgot to put on my contacts. So before you put on any makeup, I'd also say put on your contacts because you don't want to get anything filled in those contacts. So that other one that I showed off there, I didn't really show off very well, but it's just a Wet n Wild press powder. Also from Walmart. That next one there, it didn't really have a name. I tried to show off the back to see if anything on there, and anything on there was in Japanese. It's because it's from Oomomo. It was just called a Pore powder or a Pore concealer cover-up thing. Like I said, I just saw that and I was like, well, I'm gonna buy that now. So I'm kind of using both of those powders to try and blend out the e.l.f. powder now. Like I said, I don't want to have it just, like bright under eyes, but when the brighter the better, the more sleek it looks, I guess. Moving on to eyeshadow here, I'm using a ColorPop palette. Did not buy this for myself, I'm too broke for that. So I mean, the palette itself doesn't really matter. Really, you can use any kind of powder or palette you want. It doesn't have to be, like I said, an expensive kind of eyeshadow palette. So what I used there, it's just I started off with a basic peachy tone, kind of a neutral just to kind of set the eye. And then this I'm moving on to just a straight white eyeshadow. I forget what brand it is, like I've had it for so long, you can tell because there's so much pan there. So I kind of do like my bottom waterline with the white, and then I do my inner crease as well. Or sorry, not the inner corner, not the crease. And then I also highlight kind of my brow bone, just to make it appear high. And then I grab in a second here, I'll grab the eyeshadow brush and I'll just kind of try to blend out the white in the corner. And then I'll move on to a bit of a lighter kind of peachy color. This was actually a new palette for me, so I'm kind of looking at it for the first time. And so you can see maybe a little bit of a lighter pink for this one. And I just kind of dab it on there, and kind of the same way that I draw. This is actually a drawing tip that I learned a long time ago. It was, don't do one eye and then do the other because they'll always end up looking off. Do them simultaneously. So that's kind of what I'm doing here, is I'm trying to brush them at the same time. You can see on my right eye I'm very bad at blending it because I wasn't really paying attention. I was making sure, and then getting distracted by my YouTube videos as well. So I'm going back to blending there with just a bit of the original neutral tone that I was using, just so that it wasn't fully peachy already, and I kind of want to have a bit of a gradient going on. And then you can see I go to a bit of a darker kind of red color here now. Getting distracted. I do this one more on the edge and kind of doing my top crease. I usually like to do a darker color in the top crease just to give it that kind of definition. And blending outwards usually. I'm still using the same brush here. I'm kind of bad for just kind of using my favorite brushes over and over again. And then you can see I was swatching the palette there for a second trying to figure out what color to use, but this next one here I'm going to use just on the outer corner of my lid, a little bit on the base of the lash line, and then I'm going to go underneath my eye with this darker color. This one I'm just kind of going to not blend outwards yet, I'm just going to meticulously kind of line that bottom part of my eye. And then I'm going to go into my NYX palette here, which I got at Shoppers Drug Mart. For all you American people, that's basically like the Canadian version of Walgreens. And I blend with a darker red, very outer edges. I kind of blend all the ColorPop stuff that I already used, and like I said, I'm adding more to the bottom and blending outwards. The biggest part for this is I'm using now a fluffier brush, just to kind of, it's a lot easier I find with that fluffy brush to blend everything outwards. So I'm kind of blending in towards the brow bone and then down onto my cheekbone almost. Not quite onto the cheekbone. Sometimes it gets out there depending on the character, but in this instance specifically, I was kind of going for a bit of a more rounded shape as opposed to an angled or pointed shape. Again, you can see me switching between eyes because when you do both eyes in tandem, it'll look good. So next up, I'm using just a regular brow powder from the Sephora set that I got. Again, I didn't buy this myself. This was like a Christmas present. So I just kind of use an angled angled eyeshadow brush to do my eyebrows. And I tend to try to fill in the brows first because usually they get slathered with foundation and concealer. So first things first is I'm kind of trying to fill in the inner, and then I start doing more of an outline. For this in particular, I was trying to do uraraka, so I was kind of giving a smaller brow and trying to give it a bit more pointed, though this is not as small as I'd like to go for uraraka as usual. But nevertheless, it's kind of why we put concealer up here earlier, because it's going to give a lot more definition to the brow edges. You can also use a brow pencil. Those I find are quite nice if you're trying to do like a gradient brow. For this one, I tend to use powder a lot because as you can see there, I can brush it off easily with like a finger and it'll go away, and then I can redo the line. And I'm kind of tilting it back and forth, trying to look between the brows. One big tip I learned from doing my brows is that your eyebrows are cousins, not sisters. So they don't have to be identical, just kind of similar. Next up, we're moving to eyeliner. This one here specifically is a ColorPop eyeliner, which was also a gift, but I also use Maybelline gel liner. So I'm kind of just going, I'll go from one eye. Yeah, so my phone cut out there. And I try to go back, so I was showing off what I do for my white. And for my whites, I tend to line the bottom of the bottom of my liner, and then I add like little lashes with the black and the white, and sometimes little dots. And then here you can see I'm gonna do, yeah, my phone cut out again. For my eyelashes there, what I do is I add a little strip of glue along my hand, and then I dip the edge of the eyelash itself in. Those eyelashes are just like dollar store. I think they're Oomomo eyelashes again, and the eyelash glue, which I always recommend, is just it dries clear duo lash glue. And then I just shove it on my eyeball and wait for it to dry. Usually I blow on it a little bit first to kind of get it a bit tacky so it doesn't slide around on my eyeball. And yeah, you can kind of see here I'm just styling the wig how I want it. And that's pretty much it. So thanks for hanging out with me and listening to me ramble about my makeup.